I'm going to take a few minutes today and talk about some skill building exercises you can do with a bevel-up draw knife. Bevel up meaning when the back of the blade is horizontal, like in use, the bevel's facing up and the handles are cranked downward relative to the blade, right? A lot of people have probably seen going from rough split stock like this oak here, make that square. Yep, that's a great exercise. And then go a step further, make that octagonal, and then to round. It's very common in chair making. That's great. I'm going to put a literal twist on that today and just increase the challenge level a little bit. I've got some rough split dry mulberry here, and what I'm going to do is rotate the tenons. So I have square tenons on both ends of this, but they're rotated 45 degrees to each other. So this trains you to freehand shape and not just be programmed to do straight spindles, that kind of thing. So if I want to put more interesting shapes to this and blend contours and facets, this is a great training exercise for that. Took me, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe to do that at a very relaxed pace. What I'll start with is another piece of that same stock of mulberry, something not too crazy, but not super straight either. And I'll initially just shape one end to a square tenon, and then I'll rotate it 45 degrees and start shaping and blending. So let's get going. Doesn't matter which end, just pick an end. Being dry stock, even though mulberry is not very hard or dense, I have to use a little bit of oomph to clear the cut at the end there. In general, with any draw knife, the more skew and the more slice you use in your motions, the easier it is to move through the wood. But also, working with the bevel up in particular, the more skew you put to the blade, effectively, the longer of a sole, if you're thinking of this like a crude hand plane, the more you turn the blade to a heavy skew, the longer the sole gets of that plane, and the more you reference off of the average plane of the surface you're working. So working horizontal, or sorry, perpendicular to the work versus at a 45, I'll be able to get a much truer planar surface at a heavy skew. And see how this bevel up, that flat back just rides over the surface and shears off the high spots with every pass. Sometimes it takes you a few strokes to find that initial engagement. Every few cuts, I'm going to stop and examine my progress. With a little practice, I'm not even really trying to get that truly square. Do I have a square here? Yep, already fell. That's not too bad. I can easily true that up with one or two passes. I'm within a degree of square. Okay, so that's the first end. Now I'm going to knock these corners off at a 45-degree opposition to that first end. Mulberry is soft but somewhat tough. So as I look here, I'm looking at this, the apex of that corner there, and I'm just visualizing a plane that's perpendicular to that. Is that the right word, Katrina? Perpendicular? Rotated 90 degrees, right? No, 45 degrees. I keep misspeaking. I'm rotating that square 45 degrees. I'm a little off square on my tenon, so I'm also truing this up to have actual 90-degree corners all at the same time. Okay, I'm pretty close to a square here, and then I have these rough bits in between to try to true up. Now that's going to be the trickier part of this, and I may encounter some tear out. So here's my plane. I want to work forward from this plane. And blend up to a nice crisp hard corner there. So if I come this way, is it going to tear? No, I'm lucking out. Interestingly, the sapwood on mulberry and quite a few other species is tougher than the heartwood. At least harder to pull a blade through. It doesn't cut as clean. It takes more force. Having good harsh light really helps with this. If it was a cloudy day, I would have a major struggle seeing all these facets intersect. I have a little bit of a crown right here, so I'm going to slow down and watch where the shavings are coming up. I want the shavings coming up right in the middle of the wood, that is, not the blade. Take the crown out of that, re-flatten. And now I'm just trying to clean these facets up best I can without going to a more refining tool. Could use a little block plane if I really wanted to flatten those sides. Try to match the size of this tenon to that tenon. Overshoot a little bit, looks like I might have. Tiny bit. That's pretty darn close to true squares opposed over the length. And through the magic of video editing, I took a few extra minutes and converted this kind of unusual shape to a spiral. A little crude, by just blending those hard corners around the midsection there. Now that was done 100% with this bevel-up draw knife, and I could certainly have a more gracefully blended spiral square with a little spoke shave work in there. and I could get tenons that are perfect enough to do mortise and tenon joinery with them, just with a small block plane or any sort of short soled plane. For additional challenge, you could blend from a much larger square on one end to a smaller square on the other end with spiral. Can you blend from square to a triangle, Katrina? You're the geometry teacher.
Sure.
Anyway, there's a lot of fun ways to improve your skills with the Drawknife. Thanks for watching. Please check out some of my other videos.